Good morning, my dear students. Today I am going to focus and discuss a very interesting topic, that is photochemistry of vision. So from the term itself, photochemistry, it means photo means light or photons and chemistry means chemical reaction. So in response to a light that falls on the retina, what is the chemical changes that occurs, that we are going to study, and this is known as photochemistry of vision. So as soon as the light or photon particles falls on retina, a series of changes will occur in the chemistry of the visual pigments. Retina contains lots of visual pigments as well as some substrate cell or cells which are responsible for doing the chemical reaction, like rod and cones. So this chemical reaction will be finally transferred into some electrical phenomena, and finally it will be carried to the optic nerve via a special type of cells known as bipolar cells, horizontal cells, and helps in visualization of the object you are going to see. So thus a series of changes occurs in the retina which contain visual pigments in response to the light falling on it, and this series of changes is known as photochemistry of vision, and it is responsible for transformation of the light energy into chemical energy and finally into electrical energy again, through which the impulse of visualization or visual impulse will be carried to the visual cortex and help in visualization of the object. Now, suppose this is the eye. When the light falls, it has to first cover the cornea. This is the corneal surface. Then there is lens. This is the lens. Before this is the aqueous humor. Then after the lens lies the vitreous humor, and this is the retina. So as soon as the light enters the eye, it has to cover the corneal surface, anterior curvature of the cornea, then aqueous humor, which is a fluid in between the anterior segment of the lens. Then it has to travel through the lens. Then it enters the posterior segment of eye, which is filled up with a fluid known as vitreous humor, and after it transferred or transmitted to the vitreous humor, it falls on the retina, and here the chemical change will occur. So this retina will contain lots of cells. There are two types of cells mainly. These are known as rod cells and cone cell. So these two types of cells are very much important because they have visual pigments which is responsible for undergoing the chemical reaction in response to the light. Now, what is these rod cells? The rod cells are responsible for dim light vision. And cone cells are responsible for bright light vision or sharp vision. So rod cell is responsible for dim light vision, and through the rod cell a clear object visualization is not possible. So a rough estimation of the object is possible through rod cell, and cone cell is responsible for bright light vision and is responsible for sharp visualization of a particular object. Now this rod cell, if you see the structure, the rod cell is like this. So this is the rod cell. They contain lots of disc-like structure. These are called discs. This area contains nucleus. It contains lots of mitochondria also. Nucleus, mitochondria, and this is the outer segment. And there are many, these are called discs, and these are the inner segment. and this is the most lower part of the rod cell, and it contains a synapse. And here it will form synapse with bipolar cell. Now this outer segment has some. Now this disc is nothing but these are made up of plasma membrane. So discs are nothing but made up of plasma membrane. There are so many discs, and this outer segment contain the visual pigments. So visual pigments, we will discuss visual pigments, which is responsible for the chemical reaction in the when light falls on the retina. These are present on the disc, on the plasma membrane, and these discs are present on the outer segment. So we must tell that the visual pigments are present on the outer segment of the rod cell, and it is called rod because the outer segment looks like a rod shaped. So we can see the outer segment of a rod cell is rod shaped. That's why we call it rod cell. And the outer segment is divided into so many discs, and these discs are nothing but made up of plasma membrane, and these contain the visual pigments, and we will discuss the visual pigments just after this. Now this is rough structure. It consists of an outer segment and inner segment. Outer segment is made up of so many discs which is slapped on one another, and these discs are made up of nothing but plasma membrane, and it contains visual pigment. And the lower part, the inner segment, contains the central bulging part which contains nucleus and some mitochondria, and this nucleus and mitochondria is responsible for the cell metabolism, and mitochondria provides the energy for synthesis of visual pigments. And the lower part of the inner segment forms a synapse, and it contains a presynaptic membrane and so many vesicles which contain neurotransmitter. Most common neurotransmitter that is present is glutamate. Now, and at the end of the rod cell, the synapse ultimately form junction with bipolar cell. Through a bipolar cell is responsible for taking the electrical signal via optic nerve and up to the visual cortex. So this is the rough structure of rod cell. Now we should say one thing, that outer segment contain a sodium channel. So again I am drawing the outer segment of the rod cell contain a sodium channel. Okay, and what is the special quality? And the inner segment also contain another sodium channel, but this is sodium potassium ATPase. So there are two types of sodium channel. One is, this is cyclic GMP mediated sodium channel, and this is sodium potassium ATPase. So when there is increased cyclic GMP in the intracytoplasmic on the inside the cytoplasm of the outer segment of the rod cell, this stimulates the opening of this sodium channel, and that's why sodium will enter. Now this sodium will gradually, there is a accumulation of sodium in the outer segment of the intracytoplasmic part of the outer segment, and from there sodium will flow from outer segment to inner segment because of the gradient of sodium. Sodium will be more here because sodium is entering, and sodium will be less in the inner segment because a channel known as sodium potassium ATPase will be working here, and because of this sodium channel or sodium potassium ATPase pump in the inner segment, 3 sodium will be pumped out and 2 potassium will enter, just like it works in other cell. And that's why there will be always a low sodium gradient on the inner segment. That's why there is a gradient of sodium from outer segment intracytoplasm. Inside the cytoplasm of the outer segment, there is a flow of sodium from outer segment to inner segment, and because of this there is a flow of sodium. Now what happened to the sodium in the outside? In the outside of the rod cell, the sodium will flow from inner segment to the outer segment like this. So 3 sodium will be pumped out through sodium potassium ATPase pump in the inner segment, and once it is pumped out, whatever sodium is has been extruded, it will be transferred to the outer segment, where there will be intrusion or entry of the sodium because of one channel known as cyclic GMP mediated sodium channel. and inside the cell the sodium will flow from outer segment to inner segment. And because of this sodium channel only, if the sodium channel is working, this is what happens in dark. When no light falls on the retina or on the rod cell, this is the changes at rest or at dark. So this is the sodium ion channels that will be transferred, or transfer of sodium channel or activity of sodium channel that goes on in the rod cell in dark or when it is rest or when there is no light falling on the rod cell. So again I am telling, the rod cell consists of outer segment, inner segment. Outer segment contain a channel known as cyclic GMP mediated sodium channel, which will open up when the cyclic GMP level in the rod cell inside the cell is high. When cyclic GMP level is high, this sodium channel will open up and sodium will enter from the outside to the inside, and it will increase the sodium quantity inside the outer segment. And at the same time, in the inner segment, there is another pump known as sodium potassium ATPase pump, which pump out sodium and responsible for entry of potassium. So because of this channel, there is a fall of sodium gradient inside the inner segment. So inside the cell, we can see outer segment to inner segment, there is a sodium gradient, and sodium will flow from outer segment to inner segment inside the rod cell. And in outside the rod cell, sodium will flow from inner segment to outer segment. So this is a cycle that goes on always, and that happens in rest. And because of this accumulation of sodium, there is a depolarization inside the cell. Depolarization. And because this depolarization is responsible for opening up of calcium channels in the presynaptic membrane, and this calcium is responsible for exocytosis and release of synaptic neurotransmitter into the cleft, and it will create a synaptic potential in the postsynaptic membrane, and it will be carried by a bipolar cell. So these are the roughly the structure of rod cell and an electrical mechanism or ionic mechanism that is going on inside the rod cell when it is at rest or when it is in dark or when no light is falling on the rod cell. So sodium plays an important role. There are, again I am telling, there are two types of sodium channel. One is cyclic GMP mediated sodium channel that is responsible for entry of sodium in the outer segment, and there is another sodium channel, sodium potassium ATPase or antipode, which is responsible for exit of sodium, but it is of the inner segment. And inside the rod cell, the sodium gradient will be maintained because of the sodium potassium pump, and that's why sodium will flow from outer segment to inner segment. And this sodium is responsible for causing depolarization inside the cell, and because of this depolarization, it will open up the calcium channel, and calcium channel opening up will lead to the entry of calcium in the presynaptic membrane. And because of this, ultimately the neurotransmitters will be there in the vesicles. It causes exocytosis of the vesicles. Ultimately neurotransmitter will release into the synaptic cleft, and it will cause some postsynaptic potential change and responsible for production of potential, and it will be transferred to the bipolar cell. But actually we should say at rest there is continuously release of neurotransmitter at the presynaptic membrane. Can you understand? So there is always release of neurotransmitter from the presynaptic membrane, always at dark or rest, because of continuous electrical phenomena of the sodium entry that goes on. It is mainly because of sodium entry, because of cyclic GMP mediated sodium channel that occurs in the outer segment. Now the mechanism in case of cone cell also, the same mechanism goes on. In the cone, what is cone cell? Now we will discuss the cone cell. Cone cells are another type of cell. Cone cell is also another type of cell. So these are the discs. This is called cone cell. It also, like rod cell, it also has outer segment. It also has inner segment. The outer segment contains lots of discs, but the disc is different from the rod cell. And the outer segment, we can see it is conical in structure. It is conical in structure. That's why we call it cone cell. Since the outer segment of the cone cell is conical in structure, that's why it is called cone cell. And outer segment, it consists of so many discs which contain so many visual pigments, just like rod cell. And the inner segment contains nucleus and mitochondria, and just like rod cell, it is also responsible for synthesis of the visual pigments. Mitochondria supply the energy for the synthesis of visual pigments, and there is also a sodium channel working that is known as cyclic GMP mediated sodium channel on the outer segment, and there is always a gradient of sodium from outer segment to inner segment, and rapid depolarization of the calcium channels, and because of which calcium will enter in the presynaptic membrane, and that is responsible for always in neurotransmitter release at rest when light is not falling on the cone. So rod and cone, the mechanism is same. There is always the activity of sodium channel, but difference is that the structure of the outer segment is conical in shape, and it contains a different type of visual pigment. Now we will come to the visual pigments. We will discuss what is visual pigments. Now what are visual pigments? Visual pigments are those pigments visual pigments are two types. Actually, there are several types of visual pigments. Now, visual pigments are pigments which are present on the retina, specially synthesized by rod and cones, and present on the disc or outer segment of the rod and cones. Now, in case of rod, the rod cell will secrete one pigment known as rhodopsin. This is the visual pigment secreted by rod cell. The cone cell will secrete three types of visual pigments. Sometimes they say cyanopsin, and those cells which is neither rod cell nor cone cells, they secrete another type of visual pigment known as melanopsin. This melanopsin actually responsible for maintenance of circadian rhythm, and it is linked with suprachiasmatic nucleus of hypothalamus. So melanopsin is also a visual pigment, but it which is present in those cells which is neither rod cell nor cone cells. The cells other than rod and cone cells secrete melanopsin, which is responsible for maintenance of the circadian rhythm, and it is connected with the suprachiasmatic nucleus of hypothalamus. Okay, and now main important is the rod and cone cells. Rod cells secrete rhodopsin, and cone cells secrete three important visual pigments, together known as cone visual pigments, or also known as cyanopsin. Now, one thing is that these visual pigments actually is nothing. All the visual pigments, if you think in the structure, visual pigments will consist of two important structure, that is retinine, and another one is opsin. Actually, in all the visual pigment, the retinine is constant. The opsin will be changing from one pigment to another one. So rhodopsin is because the opsin in rhodopsin is different. In cone cell, the retinine is constant, but opsin is different. In melanopsin also, the retinine is the same, but opsin is different. So in all the visual pigments, whether it's secreted by rod cell, cone cell, or melanopsin, there is a one constant part known as retinine, another protein part which is variable is known as opsin. So we can say visual pigments is equal to retinine plus opsin. This is the constant part, and this is the variable part. The structure of opsin will be differ from visual pigment to visual pigments. Now retinine is a constant, and it is also known as retinal. Retinal is nothing but aldehyde of retinol. It's an aldehyde of retinoic acid. It's aldehyde of, again I am telling, what is retinine? Retinine is nothing but aldehyde. It's aldehyde of retinoic acid. Now again I am telling, this opsin is the most variable part and retinine is the constant part. The retinine plus opsin together forms the visual pigment. For rod cell we call it rhodopsin, for cone cell we call it cyanopsin, or there are three visual pigments, and melanopsin is also there. It's secreted by those cells which are neither rod cell nor cone cell. They are responsible for circadian rhythm maintenance and connected with the suprachiasmatic nucleus. Now these cone cells contain three types. They are responsible for blue, green and red. Blue, green and red. There are three type of visual pigments which are sensitive to blue, green and red. Okay. So three type of visual pigments are secreted by cone cells. They are also known as cyanopsin together. So they are sensitive to blue, green and different type of light, and that's why there are three different type of visual pigments. Now again I am telling, in case of the opsin in case of rod cell is called scotopsin. Scotopsin. Now if you see the structure of the visual pigments, again I am telling the visual pigments are nothing but some special type of pigments or chemical structure which is composed of retinine and opsin. Retinine is the most common structure, but variable part is opsin, which will vary from visual pigment to visual pigments. Now this retinine, also known as retinal, is nothing but aldehyde of retinoic acid, or which can be derived from retinol. And retinol or retinoic acid may be derived from vitamin A. Vitamin A is a vitamin which is very much important for synthesis of visual pigments for everyone. That's why vitamin A is very much essential for prevention of any blindness. Vitamin A deficiency may lead to night blindness. We will be discussing, but before that you should know. So this is the membrane, and this is the retinine, and this is the. So this is the opsin, and this is the retinine. Retinine or retinal, which is nothing but aldehyde form of retinoic acid. So this is the constant part, this is the opsin surrounding serpentine structure, this is the opsin which is the most variable part. Can you understand? So these together, retinine and opsin together forms the complete visual pigment. In case of rod cell we call it rhodopsin, and in case of cone cell we call it cyanopsin. Or cone cell consists of three separate visual pigments depending on the type of light or which type of wavelength it is sensitive to. So for it, it is the three pigments secreted by cone cell is sensitive to blue light, green light and red light, and based on that there are three type of visual pigments of the cone cell. And melanopsin I have already described. Now we will see what will happen when light falls on the retina. When the light falls on the retina, retina will contain various type of cells. Now suppose, especially normally suppose we think that the type of light, it is not very bright light, it is normal light. In such condition, the first cell to be stimulated is rod cell. So rod cell will be stimulated, and these rod cell are called, so rods is called rod because the outer segment is rod in shape. These rod cell contain rhodopsin. This rhodopsin, what will happen? It is converted to pre-lumirhodopsin. Rhodopsin, which is converted to lumirhodopsin. Lumirhodopsin will be converted to metarhodopsin 1, which will be converted to metarhodopsin 2. So metarhodopsin 2 is very much important because it is responsible for generation of the photoreceptor potential, or it will create the ultimate signaling of the production of the, it is responsible for undergoing the chemical reaction, and it will transport the chemical reaction and form electrical signal. So this metarhodopsin 2 is very much important, and the further light, if it is present, further light, if it is exposed to further light, it will be broken down into retinine plus opsin, and it is the all trans retinine. Okay, so again I am telling, when light falls on the retina, it contains rod cell. Rod cell will secrete rhodopsin, which in the presence of light will be broken down into pre-lumirhodopsin. Pre-lumirhodopsin will be further broken down into lumirhodopsin, and which will be further broken down into metarhodopsin 1 and metarhodopsin 2. And this substance is very much important. This chemical substance, it is responsible for generation of the it is responsible for generation of what? It is responsible for generation of synaptic potential or photoreceptor potential, and that will be transferred in the form of electrical signal, and that is the responsible for creating the electrical signal inside the cell. Now let's see what is happening. Now further light falls on the metarhodopsin, it will be broken down into retinine and opsin. The retinine is nothing but retinal or all trans retinal form, and it is simultaneously opsin. Now this total breaking down of metarhodopsin or separation of retinine and opsin, we call it bleaching. So what is bleaching? Bleaching means separation of the complete separation of retinine and opsin. We call it bleaching. So bleaching is responsible for depletion of the visual pigments in the retina. Can you understand? So because of complete bleaching, there is always some decrease in this rhodopsin, which is the main important visual pigment, that will be goes on decreasing. So with time we need to be renew this retinine, and we should again try to form the rhodopsin. So there is some how the rhodopsin is formed again, or how there is a repletion. There is a depletion of rhodopsin, because when the light falls on it, it will form metarhodopsin 2, and ultimately further light falls, it will be broken down into retinine and opsin. This retinine and opsin will be ultimately separate, and it leads to phenomena known as bleaching. Now bleaching leads to total depletion or decrease in the rhodopsin amount, which is not good. Because why? Because for further retina to work photochemistry of vision, for every molecule of light falls or every quantum of light falls, there is a change depletion of rhodopsin. So this rhodopsin should be repleted against, or again new rhodopsins will be synthesized. So that's why, otherwise next visual cycle cannot occur. Next photochemical change in the light or on the retina will not happen if the rhodopsin is depleted. So how there is repletion or resynthesis of rhodopsin occurs. Now the first important reaction that occurs in resynthesis is that all trans retinine will be converted to in the form of isomerase. All trans retinine will be converted into 11-cis retinine. 11-cis retinine will ultimately converted to, it will bind with opsin and ultimately form rhodopsin. That is, all trans retinine so formed after bleaching will undergo isomerase activity, and ultimately it will convert it into 11-cis retinine. This 11-cis retinine will bind with opsin, and ultimately again form or synthesis of rhodopsin will occur. So new rhodopsin synthesis will occur. This is one step. Another step is the role of vitamin A. So all of you know vitamin A is very much good for eye. Now how it is helping, let's see. Now active form of vitamin A is nothing but retinol. Vitamin A is nothing, active form, it is nothing but retinol. Now all of you see, all trans, the vitamin A will give all trans retinol. Which ultimately in the presence of isomerase reaction will form 11-cis retinol, which ultimately in the presence of retinol isomerase dehydrogenase will form 11-cis retinine. These ultimately bind with opsin and form rhodopsin. So again I am telling, the vitamin A will supply all trans retinol. These in the presence of isomerase will form 11-cis retinol, and this 11-cis retinol in the presence of retinol isomerase dehydrogenase enzyme will convert the 11-cis retinol into retinal. This is the alcohol and this is the aldehyde. The structure is same. It is 11-cis, it is also 11-cis, and ultimately retinol will be converted into retinine. Retinine is nothing but retinal or aldehyde form of the retinol. And once the retinine is formed, it will be converted to rhodopsin once it binds with opsin. So again there is an increase of rhodopsin in the retina, and ultimately new visual cycle can start. So we can see that there is a two type of mechanism. One is role of vitamin A and the transformation of all trans retinine to rhodopsin again. This role of vitamin A this step is very much important actually, because vitamin A role is very much important here, because vitamin A is responsible for supplying of the retinol, which may be converted to synthesis of rhodopsin. That's why we must say that vitamin A is responsible for synthesis of rhodopsin or visual pigments. Without vitamin A, there is a chance that person cannot see better in the night. So this may lead to, we call it nyctalopia or night blindness. So vitamin A is very much essential for visualization or for vision, because vitamin A active form is retinol, which is responsible for supply of retinol, and ultimately it helps in synthesis of visual pigment, there is rhodopsin. And without vitamin A or vitamin A deficiency will leads to night blindness. Person cannot see in the night, or also known as nyctalopia. Now, vitamin A deficiency is most common cause of reversible blindness in India, because vitamin A, if you don't take nicely or in appropriate amount from very beginning, it may leads to night blindness. If night blindness is not controlled with vitamin A, or if the vitamin A deficiency further continue, it will leads to bitter spot, it will leads to dry eye, corneal injury, finally it leads to blindness. So we can see that blindness will be there in the last stage because of vitamin A deficiency, but if you don't supply vitamin A in the right moment, it may lead to blindness. The initial sign symptom of vitamin A deficiency is night blindness, or also known as nyctalopia,